Hey everybody, Jess Intuitive Angel Healer here with your Grounded. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today, and welcome to another episode of Dancing in the Toxic Shadows, Finding Empowerment and Hope Through the Toxicity. This is a podcast that features an empowered soul swim through the toxic waters of life and how they have found the courage, strength, and blind faith used to obtain the life they truly want to live, and encourage others to take that leap of faith no matter if they can only see the first two steps. Today, we have a very special guest, Stephanie Cooper. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
And Stephanie is from Virginia. She is Army veteran. She is also the fabulous host of the podcast, Broken into Beautiful. And she's a busy lady. She's also published a book called
Talitha Koum. Little girl, I say to you, get up.
There you go. So,
and I actually have it here so you can see the cover.
Awesome. She brought her book, guys. You guys need to get this. This is an awesome inspirational book, and this is an awesome inspirational lady that has an awesome story to tell you about how she was in the trenches of the dark shadows, and she broke the shadows and broke them into beautiful. So go ahead and tell us all about it, Stephanie.
Oh, wow. So there are so many different little things that happen in your life and situations that just have an effect on who you are. And they're all a part of your broken into beautiful story. The biggest story that happened to me was more recently with my marriage and my divorce. I got married in 2016, and by the end of 2018, I was divorced. It didn't last very long, and on top of me getting a divorce, I also lost my job. I was in Louisiana at the time, and of course, after, my husband left and I lost my job, I couldn't afford to stay there, and I didn't have any family there because I had moved to Louisiana away from my family. My family's in South Carolina. I moved to Louisiana from Georgia. And so that's where everything started. At the time I had a car, but it wasn't going to make it to Georgia. And so I had a little bit of money in my pocket, and it was either, okay, fix my car and stay here, or maybe go to a dealership and see if you can get another car without having to do a down payment so you can have a dependable car and not be stuck on the road and leave. And that's what I did. I went and I got another car, but then I lost my job. So then I had no way to pay for that car. And so
I have been there.
Yeah, it's a struggle. I relocated back to Atlanta, where I was actually, at the time, I thought I was fortunate enough to get my old job back, the one I left to move to Louisiana to get married. And so I took that job back, got an apartment. Less than a month in, I find out that my company is pretty much bankrupt and they cannot pay me. I was just like, why did y'all hire me? I got an apartment, a new lease, a new car. Like, I have to feed me. I don't have children, which that's a whole nother story, but I had a dog. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? So I ended up leaving that job. I stayed there from September to November thinking that things would get better, hoping that it would get better so that I could get paid, but it never got better. And so I ended up leaving and just started working a bunch of part-time jobs. I have a degree in science, so I started tutoring. I started working part-time in retail. I was a summer camp director, just doing little odd jobs here and there, just so I could make some money. It wasn't enough money to pay my rent, but at least I could put gas in my car and be fed and maybe keep the lights on or something like that. With that, that's just how it was for a while. And then I thought I got a bright side to it. I got a job offer, and in November, end of November, I was working again, had a full-time job. Very grateful, very grateful. However, an incident happened with that. And by April of that was November of 2018. By April of 2019, I lost that job. And I was still trying to play catch up. I lost that job. So from April to September, I'm back to part-time working, 2 and 3 jobs and doing tutoring. And also I mentor teen moms on the side. And that kind of helped me continue, because I'm like, there's always somebody that has it worse than me. So I just kept trying to choose the perspective that I would believe in. For a year, from 2018 to 2019, just me struggling. April to September, unemployed or part-time employed, just working a whole bunch of different jobs, trying to keep some kind of money. I got offered another full-time job in September. And I was like, okay, this is it. Yes, I'm going to make it. We're going to be all right. Well, in January of 2020, my company told me, oh, sorry, we're closing. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. How? And then a coronavirus. And it's just, I said, oh my gosh, what did I do to deserve this? Like, it just went, when they say when it rains, it pours. Yeah, I had hurricane after hurricane after hurricane after hurricane. And it was horrible for me. I will say that I had some people in my corner, and although I was working my behind off, I never got evicted. People would send me checks. They would pay my rent, pay my bills, give me money, buy me groceries, give me furniture for apartments. Like, I had people in my corner praying for me and encouraging me and pulling me through that time. And that's always a good thing to have, to help you get through. They kind of helped me, because I was really literally hanging on by a thread. I remember one day I was in my car driving. The thought came to me, I could just drive off the side of the road right now and it'll all be over. It'll be done. I don't have to worry about this anymore. But immediately my spirit girl kicked in and is like, oh, no, we're not doing
we
that.
all have that thought at some moment when everything comes tumbling down. I would say, it's the thoughts that, if that's why we don't have, thank God we don't have a speaker on our heads, because nobody wants to know the thoughts that are going on in here.
Yeah.
It all comes across, and it's hard when you're turning around and every door that you're coming to is shut.
Mm-hmm.
And It's even harder to know that Spirit's doing it for a reason. I always say Spirit's rejection is your protection. So any closed doors is because there's a reason, and stop trying to pry that door open. I'm the worst. I'm like, yes. Oh, I'll just go make another key. Change the lock on me. I'll get through it.
Yes. That is exactly it. Those doors. And so my spirit girl kicked in. She was like, no. But in that moment, I understood why people decide to take their lives. Mm-hmm. Because it became very clear to me why people commit suicide, because I was in that space and I understood. And the difference between me and somebody that has already committed suicide is my spirit girl and the people that I had surrounding me and encouraging me and teaching me. And so it didn't get to that point. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. But on that point that you made about trying to reopen doors, that's exactly what happened when I moved back to Georgia. Because after my divorce, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back to Georgia, get my old life back, get my old place back, and just go back to my old life. But no, that is not what happened. And that's not what's supposed to happen. You have a new journey that you have to do. That is actually, I already had my book out by then. My book was actually published in 2017. I kind of always wanted to have something else, a blog, a podcast, or something. That is how the birth of Broken Into Beautiful came, because of all the struggle that I went through and the things that happened and how I was able to pull myself through. And I had people in my corner helping to pull myself through. And I realized the lessons that I learned a big lesson is change your perspective. You have to look at things in a different light or a different view. And sometimes that's really, really hard. But that is how Broken into Beautiful was birthed. And I was just like, there are so many other women out there that are just like me. Because sometimes we go through things and we feel like we're alone, but we're not. There's so many other women or people, period, that go through what we go through. And we all think we're alone, but we're not. And I wanted to have something to tell people that they are not alone. And that's how Broken into Beautiful was birthed. And so I just launched that podcast June 17th of this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, it's just a journey.
I went and started off, I've just started these podcasts off, and I said, well, if everybody's going to come tell their story, I might as well tell mine. And then I thought about it because I go to tell my story on other people's podcasts. I thought, why do I need to write it down? Well, yeah, you need to write it down because first of all, I'm 39. A lot of life has happened, and I need to, we don't have enough time to tell you about my whole life, but I could tell you the really juicy parts, I guess. But I love your story because you are very true. And, you know, thank you for your honesty. It is amazing. I've got a lot of chills right now because Spirit's here with me, because this is how some people don't understand how Spirit works. Well, this is how Spirit works. Before you came on today to tell your story, last night I decided to watch Dolly Parton because I love her. I love her story. If you've never watched it, you definitely need to go seriously watch the Dolly Parton story because it is amazing. And I watched it last night. She came up in the 50s. I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional because her story is so... she came out in a terrible time in the 50s and 70s. She came out looking like Anna Nicole Smith, and that was not acceptable back then. You weren't even supposed to show your belly button back then.
Yeah.
And she came out this firecracker, and the whole time people are like, you're not gonna last, you're just another blonde bimbo. And she's like, you watch, I'm gonna be here. 71 years later, or 73 years later, that lady is still here, reinventing herself every day. And she's like, I told you. In her interview, she said exactly what you just said, almost to T. She said, I understand how I went through a period of my life that I finally understand, and I got in that space of why people can commit suicide, because I never understood that. I have a medical background. My vision is I can't, even if I do understand that in a medical setting, I cannot understand that. And like, we have to do different stuff. When I took away and I'm not in the medical setting with all those rules and everything now, and I finally got into that space, I understand this life is stressful. Yes. I have tried to give up very many times that people don't know. I've tried to give up my whole life, and literally I'm not allowed to. I've told people my whole life, I'm not allowed to. I have tried. I've tried different things. I've even had near-death experiences, and I'm still here. So that's when my aha moment, like, hey, well, you're here, so why don't you stop squandering your time and do something with it? And I learned, you know what? You're the person that can touch those people, because people who are really suicidal aren't going to tell you. But a lot of people, like Robin Williams, nobody knew, because a truly depressed person, it takes too much energy to even pick up your phone to even text something. Yeah. I love your honesty here, and you coming on here is going to show so many women that it's okay to be honest, but make sure also that you have the correct people around you. And if people are around you calling you crazy, if they're gaslighting you, if they're not
the ones for you.
They're not your people.
They are not your people.
You need to kick those people, and you need to get some real people. I've went through that struggle, and now I'm understanding. I'm not as quick to, if somebody gets mad at me and doesn't like whatever I say, or they get upset and they don't understand why I don't say yes to everything. Well, I'm sorry, there's something I see that you don't see, that I'm trying to be nice, because even though I see stuff, It's not my place to judge. You need your own space, because people can eventually come out of that low vibration if you have knowledge. Give people knowledge, give people love and support. What a different world we would have. But so many people don't understand that concept. They want to talk, but they don't want to listen. And if we had more people listening in this world, and understanding, putting some stuff behind it, then there you go. All right, I'm going to ask you a few questions about your experience here, because I went through a 10-year marriage. It wasn't totally toxic, because I don't think we ever start out being toxic. I think a lot of our karmic stuff that we don't know about is hazes over. Shadows are our wonderful day, because I met my husband. I went through a lot of frogs. I was so excited. I was like, yes, I found the man I'm going to grow old with, put my rocking chair to the west and watch the sun and go. I was going to go to San Francisco and retire with him. This was my mindset, my whole marriage. No matter how mean and awful we worked, I tried to make it work. And then I finally started understanding at some point it takes two people. If some person's starting to act a little crazier than the other person, well, it's probably a combination of things, but it's both people to make a relationship.
Yeah.
But when you have a toxic person that you're with, it's even worse, and it breaks your self-esteem. So I know that was really hard to even get out of all of that. And then, add injury to insult, you lose your job. You're like, thanks, I stood up for myself. I got out of this, and look at what I got. But, we just can't see past that mountain. When we go over the ridge, we're like, hey, I guess it was worth it all. What was your breaking moment that made you say enough is enough? That you were like, I'm out, I can't do this no more? Because we all have that point. We may lie to ourselves for quite a few years, but yours was short-lived, but it's not bad. Don't beat it. Like, say thank you, universe, for making that short, because I wish mine wouldn't have been a 10-year lesson. I think I'm just stubborn, because I shouldn't have had a 10-year lesson, but whatever.
My ex-husband actually left me. He ended the marriage. We argued a lot. I felt like I gave so much, and I was compromising so much, and just not happy, not understood, not seen. It wasn't a physical abuse thing. Sometimes there may have been some emotional abuse from both of us to each other. My goal was, when I got married, divorce was not an option. So it was just like, if I'm going to get married, it doesn't matter. Marriage is hard. It's going to take hard work from both of us. So we just got to work at it, And the first 2 years were rocky for us. And he decided that he didn't want to put that work in. I tried to do marriage therapy for both of us.
And it stinks when your partner doesn't want to be a part of it. And that's what's hard, is even ending the marriage. I don't want to end my marriage at all. My promise to myself was I was going to get married one time. At least I could do that right in the world if I didn't do anything else right. And so, unfortunately, that turned against me. That conditioning, unfortunately, comes from our family, our morals that we're brought up with. I was born in Abilene, Texas. We're Church of Christ Christian. You're supposed to, it's the whole thing. You're supposed to get married once. And that was a really big thing to me. And now it's not as big of a thing, because I had that mindset. I stayed in it. And I was fighting a losing battle at some point if somebody else isn't happy. And, my friends are the ones that brought that to my mind, because I was going to stay there. I even told my counselor at one point, I don't care how toxic this marriage is. I'll stay here because I have my daughter, and I don't want her to be in a divorced family. But then, that came back and hit me. And I was like, my friend told me these magic words: 2 happy houses, 2 happy homes is better than 1 broken home. And I was like, you know what? You are so right.
Yeah.
And that's when I literally made the conscious decision to leave, because I was like, why am I keeping my daughter in this unhappy house with 2 unhappy people? She's got to see us for the rest of her life, why not make it better for her? So I commend you for having the courage. And I want you to tell, if nobody has told you it, it is not your fault that he decided, because unfortunately people don't take marriage as what it's supposed to be. And it is not just, hey, we're married. It is a commitment to someone's soul. And a lot of people don't understand that. And I feel you had the commitment to this whole thing. And I feel like he thought he did. He wasn't brave enough to tell you at the beginning, because you usually know at the beginning.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I found out. There were things that he said to me in the beginning, and by the end, I found out he only said them just to, I guess, get me hurt, and then I found out that he didn't want to get married when we got married. He wanted us to stay engaged a little longer, but he never said anything, so I didn't know. When like I said, I set up for us to do marriage counseling, but he would be so angry, he just wouldn't come. And so I continued to go. I continued to go to therapy by myself. By the time my ex-husband actually walked out the door and said that he was done, I had already had peace. I felt like a burden was lifted. I felt like I was free, because like you, I wasn't going to leave. I wanted to, and I attempted to a couple of times, but I was like, no, I have to make this work. I got to stay. And so I was not going to leave. I was just going to have to stay there and tough it out and hope and pray that it got better. And so the fact that he left freed me. And so honestly, I felt free. I felt like, thank you, God. Yep. It's over. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute.
And see, that's the funny thing, is that your angels were like, all right, we're going to have to go rescue. And I call it rescuing your light worker. They come in and they're like, all right, boys, we're tired of her being abused. You need to just kick it up and get her out of there. They have angel meetings up there. And I'm telling you, that's what happens, is we get swooped out of. I literally told my counselor, I am going to sit here and I don't care what happens to me, because I want my daughter. And she was like, okay, if somebody told me that, I'd be like, okay, you got a lot of healing to do. And now I look back at that statement, and since I put that mindset, and I'm so stubborn, your angels have free will. They can't insert themselves, but they can be sneaky and just kind of knock and do stuff. And that's where they're trying to get you to follow your intuition, because you have so many beautiful things like this broadcast that you've been brought to, and they saved you a headache. But I understand, got proposed to when I was on a sales crew by my boyfriend that I was with for 7 years. 7 years. Proposed to me in front of a whole room full of over 100 people at a banquet. 2 years later, I asked him, okay, I've told my whole family about our whole, marriage. When is it going to happen? When is the date? When are we going to start planning? And he would throw a fit every time. I said, you proposed to me. I did not propose to you. You proposed to me and embarrassed me now in front of all these people, and now you don't want to get married? What is wrong with you? And that's why we ended up breaking up, because I was, so I understand the whole, like, why did you make this big of a thing? Because I'm a big girl. You could have told me you didn't want to be with me, and I would have got my feelings hurt, but I would have went on my merry way and not had this problem.
Right. But like you said, I choose to see like I said, I'm big on changing your perspective. And although my marriage did not work, my perspective on it is, at least we didn't have children. That made the divorce much easier. We didn't buy property, so that we were renting a house at the time, so that didn't have to work. And it was only 2 years versus someone that's like yourself, 10 years, or actually still in that marriage that's horrible for them.
I'm excited for you over here. I'm like, girl, at least you missed like the biggest wreck on the highway ever. What did you use as a source of motivation to keep you going on your journey? Because when you get down, it's hard. Do you have any personal recommendations for our audience to help keep you going when you're in the middle of it?
Yes, therapy. Therapy. I am a big advocate for therapy, because if I had not been in therapy by the time my ex-husband left me, I don't know what would have happened, after me he leaving me, then losing my job, then trying to figure out. A whole lot of stuff happened to me in the span of 2 years. And the whole time I was in therapy, and I'm still in therapy. And so my mental health is important. It's just as important as taking care of your physical body. You have to take care of your spiritual health, your mental health, your physical health. It's all important. And so therapy is my thing. And of course, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. And so having my community of people with me that pray for me having my relationship with God, just having, like I said, people in your corner that are for you, that are actually for you, and they want better for you, and they love you. They're not there just to be spectators and watch you go through this. They are there to help you pull through this and to pray for you, pray with you, to encourage you, inspire you. You know, it's different from having those onlookers just looking like, I feel bad for her, you know.
I've had people like that my whole life of it. So that's probably why I'm so loud, because I have been the solo lone wolf. I believe Spirit gave me this big mouth for a reason, because if I didn't have it, I wouldn't have made it through my life. But it's fun because I use it instead of, for so many years I misused the word. And it's funny, I was listening to a preacher the other day talking about our throats being a graveyard and our mouths being a graveyard. And it was interesting to me that it makes sense, because I went on my spiritual awakening in 2017. I've always, had good morals and had, my system of faith, but I just did. I am more spiritual now, and I'm in my purpose of actually understanding and living things. And I've been very vulgar with my mouth. I've cussed a lot in my life. I think it's a Texas thing.
Oh,
And
we all have, honey.
and my dad, I'm not even going to say the words that he said, because that was just my normal thing. And I am terrible. I curse a lot, and I try to, that's one thing I'm working on right now, is to stop saying such vulgar things, because first of all, I'm a girl, and second of all, I need to stop saying such vulgar things. But it made sense that this preacher was saying that, we have a voice for communication. And most of the time we're using our voices, this beautiful gift that we have, to spread hate and to spread ignorance around the world. And it's just crazy that Joel Osteen, there's a song with Joel Osteen and Slim Thug, to touch on your point of the right people. And it's called Church. And it's a funny collaboration because, Joel Osteen and Slim Thug, that's a weird combination. But if you ever go and listen to this song, it's talking about being with the right people. And Joel Osteen says, you can't expect to fly with eagles if you're sitting with pigeons. It's the whole thing of, if you got to have the right people, you got to have, and even if you don't have people, that's the other thing, because if you have abandonment stuff, it's all the fun spiritual journey. You walk around, and I found out a lot of my thing is abandonment, and that's why I walk alone, because I've my whole life I've depended on other people to do it for me, and so now I get to walk alone. And I have a lot of my ancestors. I feel spirit around me. I get a lot of messages. So it's weird. I'm alone, but I'm not lonely, because I wake up every day with purpose, and spirit, creator, God, whoever you call it, wakes me up and tells me, hey, you have a purpose to go enlighten people today. And even if you don't understand, you're going to go make this person smile and bring them some joy in their life. And there's nothing like that when you're living in that purpose. But we get caught up on so many things of the wrong people in our life telling us the wrong things, that they make our life journey a lot. We take the scenic route sometimes.
Yeah. So for those people, I do want to say, for the people out there that are alone or feel alone and like they don't have those people in their corners, you have to learn how to encourage and inspire yourself. It's hard, and it takes practice. It's just like learning to play an instrument or learning to skate or whatever it is that you have to learn. You have to keep learning and keep practicing in order for it to get better. So post sticky notes, write yourself letters, put stuff on your phone, on your walls, go on Pinterest and create a board to inspire yourself. You have to learn how to speak love to yourself.
Exactly. Because if
And
you
that goes for any of us, alone or not.
If you don't love yourself, and that's the first thing I tell most women, I want somebody to love. I need a man. And I'm like, girl, you need to love yourself first. And I never understood that until literally probably last year. That concept sunk in. And I'm like, I understand. Because my whole life, I think I've chased trying to find somebody so I wasn't alone. Because I lost my dad when I was 16. So I think that really never made sense to me until one day I was like, you know what? I've been trying to feel that sadness of losing my dad and not being there. Just the simple him being there and being protected, that feeling of safety goes away when you have a good relationship with your dad and they pass. I think I finally realized that if you wouldn't have been chasing your abandonment, if you would have healed your abandonment issues a long time ago, you probably would have figured that out. So it's all a learning process. And I tell people, be patient with yourself. And I am an open book to tell people right now are saying, did she just say that? She's a spiritual grounding coach. Yes, I did. Because I am not perfect. I will never be perfect. I am an earth angel, but I am not an angel. I am a spirit warrior. I have come down here to send a message, but I don't come here to sit up in judgment because I don't need to control. And for people, if anyone ever judges you, just know that anyone who judges is because they need to control. And that statement right there blew my mind. So anyone that ever judges me, I'm like, well, they just need control. So sometimes I let people have it. Egos are a fun thing that people, you can't ever get rid of your ego, but you got to learn how to manage it. And some people's ego precedes them.
Yep. I actually just recorded an episode that's going to come out next week, I think. And it's called Let Them Do It. Because sometimes you just got to let people be who they are. And you're responsible for who you are and how you respond.
And it's all about responding and not reacting. That's my biggest lesson I've learned. What does the self-care routine look like every day for you now? So you help keep your mind, body, and soul centered since everything that you've went through. I know you said you do spiritual. A lot of what does that consist of?
Prayer, of course, but in the morning, first thing I do, even before I even get out of the bed, is I read a devotional and I pray, and then I get dressed and go about my day. But throughout the day, prayer or just encouraging myself. I'm on Pinterest a lot. I'm a words person, and so I love words.
You use affirmations then, don't you?
Yes, I do affirmations. I'm on Pinterest always looking for statements and quotes that I like. Like if you listen to my podcast, every episode has at least one quote. Quotes, I have different books that I read and audio books and just spending time by myself. That's one thing that has definitely changed since in the last 2 years since my divorce is I've always wanted to be around people. I felt like I needed to have people around me, but I turned into a hermit crab afterwards. And I've learned to spend a lot of time with myself and enjoy being by myself. And so there are things that I do. I might just sit down, read a book, watch TV. I love Netflix, a glass of wine, just reading and taking care of myself. I'm a huge essential oil person. So I have like 2 different diffusers in my house, sage, and I just kind of just take care of myself based off what I'm feeling. I do suffer from anxiety. I actually have to take medication for it. And so a lot of times I am always intentional about trying to make sure I don't let my thoughts go for it, because I'll create a whole situation in my head, conversation on both sides before it even starts.
Are you a Pisces?
No, I'm a Libra.
My guy looks at me and he says, look here, Pisces, before you get that whole movie, he looks at he's the whole movie going, he's like, stop that. You
Yep.
stop that right now.
I have their response, my response, like how the whole thing will flow out before it even happens.
I'm already selling the tickets to the movie. What are you talking about?
So I have to be intentional about what I do. So I like listening to music. Just last night on Instagram, I posted on my IG stories. I love magnets. So I go to like Five Below and I get all these magnets with different types of words on them. And so the one that I took a picture of and posted last night, it was an offbeat of the one, that says she believed she could, so she did.
Yeah.
And so mine said she believed she could, but she was really tired, so she didn't.
I like that one.
I posted that on IG last night and I was like, take care of yourself. I'm going to bed. Good night. I'm tired.
Very true, though. Self-care is the biggest thing, and people think self-care is going and getting massages and getting your nails done. No.
That's a part of it, but it's not.
Well, yeah, but self-care comes down to how is your brain feeling? How's your heart feeling? Mind, body, and soul. And I have PTSD. I have anxiety. I probably have 95 million things, diagnoses, but I have never went out. I've just never felt comfortable to sit down and get diagnosed. So I have learned how to manage all my stuff. But going through there, when you have anxiety, when you have PTSD, you can't just stop it. Okay, I've had panic attacks for I've had them all day before, but the first one started out at 4 hours when I noticeably started having panic attacks. And I'm a medical assistant. I'm embarrassed because I'm brand new to the med field and I've got noticeable anxiety where I'm having panic attacks at the office and you can't have one of those. Like, that's embarrassing. So I go to the doctor, and this is what kind of got me started on managing, because I went to the doctor and my doctor was very unkind and very judgmental and told me it was all in my head. And that I can't have any medicine. I can have some Ativan. I can have 6 Ativan until she made me get on Lexapro, because I told her I wasn't really a fan of anything. And she's like, yeah, so you can have these 6 Ativan until you get adjusted to your Lexapro. I had a panic attack so bad on the Lexapro that my arm went numb as I'm having my ex drive me to Walgreens to go pick up my 6 Ativan because I'm having a panic attack so bad I can't pick up my arm. And I told her this, and she still continued to tell me that it was all in my head, and when I got leveled out that I would be okay. Well, another fun thing of why I never wanted to get on the medicine is because when you lose your insurance, and this happened to many people I've known, you can't afford $100 to go pick up that bottle of medicine. Yeah. I unfortunately had this problem happen to me, and I had moved, but I wasn't in work, thankfully. My angels protected me, but I ended up having to get off the Lexapro by myself. Do not ever do this to anyone out there. Do not ever just stop your medicine. I stopped my medicine, and for a month, I don't even know, like, it was a really scary month for me. I even remember going to the pharmacist asking him, what are you supposed to do when you take yourself off your medicine and it's unmanaged? And he looked at me just like that, like, you did what? I was like, yeah, I did it, and it's happening. And he was like, almost wanted to pray for me, because there's nothing you can do. So please don't ever do that. Go talk to someone. But I was dumb, and I went and did that. And ever since that moment, I will never take another pill again, because I was scared for my life that I had this medicine. Anywho, but I understand that's a shame thing. People put shame on the anxiety and the PTSD. And if they only understood, it comes on because you're afraid of the future, or you're so far into the future, and because somebody shamed you in your life and told you you weren't good enough or you weren't going to make it. So your whole process you spend going, I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to make it. What if I make the wrong decision? And now I'm learning, hey, there are no right or wrong decisions. If you make a quote unquote wrong decision, you just made your path longer. Really, to be honest, There are no bad decisions. It just means that you're going to go through a different road. It's either going to be, and you know immediately when it was a bad decision because everything starts tumbling down and you're like, well, guess I won't make that decision again. So, but I like your story, and I love chatting with you because this is a really big thing. So many women out there are shamed, and we're in the medical field. We're medical assistants. We're CNAs. We're taking care of people that have all this stuff, and we're over here losing our minds and crying in the bathroom for our 5-minute break, and then putting on that smile and letting you know it's okay, I'm here to serve everyone. So be kind to people out there because you don't know what they're going through, and let's just stop judging people. Because unless you want that problem that they're going through, I suggest you not worry about it.
Right. You are absolutely right.
What does your journey look like now that you have taken your power back from the toxic shadows and its inhabitants?
I have more peace. I don't worry as much. And I just recently relocated to Virginia, and I've been fighting that for years. But I moved here, and once I did, it's like everything changed. And I'm where I'm supposed to be right now. I have peace. I'm tired because I'm doing so much, but I'm happy to be able to do what I'm doing because a year ago I was tired from working all these jobs and still not being able to pay my bills,
Yes.
And so now I'm able to pay my bills, and I'm also able to do things that I love doing, like my podcast, mentoring my teen moms, and I'm just right now my journey is I'm in a good stage. I'm in a beautiful stage of my journey.
I feel like you're expanding right now, and you are kind of at the beginning of it. So like we're just seeing the creation of Stephanie Cooper right now. This would be like if you went and saw me 2 years ago when I got on my first podcast for You're Grounded, got my business in 2018, and I didn't really know where I was going with it, and I knew I didn't just want to be the weird angel card reader on Facebook, because those people are like, there's some people that I'm just like, stop getting on here, because we are not all like that, okay? We're not that strange. But I worked through all that and through all the judgment and through everything and started, now I've got my podcast going. I know more of where my vision is, and I can just see so many beautiful things. And I know Spirit brought you here today to give you that encouragement and to also give you like a high five and acknowledgement for your journey, that you matter, that you're doing so many awesome things. And if you're mentoring teen moms, like that is such a need that we've needed for many years. So you're helping to break the karmic lessons and the mindsets, because that's what a lot of the problem is the generational mindsets that have been handed down from mother to daughter, or just watching and you interacting and talking with people and giving people a different mindset is so amazing. Like, people don't need money. I tell people that you can make someone happier by giving them the tools that they need to fix their life and the knowledge that they need. And another funny thing is people always want to be rich, and you can be, everybody's rich, and rich people don't work, quote unquote work. That is the secret to being rich. You don't work, you invest, you learn knowledge. And if you can do those two things, you can make $1 million. But it's so funny that nobody wants to give you that key to success. Like, what is the secret to success? It's all about learning that if you're truly doing what you love, you'll never work. We're gonna wrap this up today. I'm so excited to see just the creation. I love meeting people when they're on the very beginning of their journey. You've written your book.
My book is Talitha, Koum, Little Girl, I Say to You, Get Up. And I call it a motivational devotional. It's a 30-day devotional for women just basic things in life that we go through. And I just kind of give encouragement, and there's a scripture for every day. It's sold on Amazon, online, and online at Barnes and Noble. And you can also reach out to me and I'll sign a copy and send it to you. It's a devotional just to help continue my journey in encouraging and inspiring women to go through life.
Now, where did you get the inspiration for the name?
So the name came from a story in the Bible. It's in Mark, where Jesus went to go to heal a little girl that was sick, and she had died because on his way there, he was stopping and healing and, working with other people. So by the time he got there, she died. And so when he got there, he went into the room and he said to her, Talitha Koum, little girl, I say to you, rise. She got up. And that's where I got the title of the book
That's
from.
awesome.
Because sometimes we feel like we're dead, or our life or our situation is dead, and we just need to get up. There's things that we need to do. There's a purpose. We're here to inspire, to do, to love others. And we can't do that just soaking and sitting in our own, whatever. We got to get up and we got to step out, and we got to be brave enough to start going and moving. Somebody out there is waiting for you to just get up.
That is an awesome inspiration for your book. What guidance would you give fellow beautiful souls out there that are doing a similar toxic dance?
Get people that are in your corner, not people that are just there to watch to see what's going to happen. People that'll be in the trenches with you. They'll be by your side. They'll encourage you. They'll walk with you. Also the therapy, and you gotta be able to start to believe in yourself and trust yourself. If there's something that you want to do it. Jess or myself wouldn't have the podcast or the avenues that we have to voice ourselves if we weren't brave enough to do it. I knew I had a voice, but sometimes I would think, what am I going to say different from anybody else that's already out there? But there's enough room at the table for all of us. And
Exactly.
so, I may say something, but you may say it different, and it hits a different set of people. So don't be afraid. Just because there's somebody out there already doing it doesn't mean you can't also do it. You're going to do it a different way.
Exactly. And it's all about getting your own tribe of people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started out and I really had to put that in my brain, because who am I? Sometimes, I tell my story and people are like, oh my, and they're just so awed by it. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's not that great. But, that's from me viewing it out, because everybody's different. And that's why I think I was so good at sales, did sales for 10 years between doing my medical for like 8 years. I can talk to just about anybody, and I just don't worry about what people think, because when it comes down to it, there's so many more people that have more accreditations and so much more than me, but I am the goofy girl that everybody remembers because I come in with my imperfect self. So that's what we need more of, is authenticity.
And don't compare yourself.
Yeah.
It's not a competition. Don't compare yourself to other people, because sometimes on social media, we're only seeing what they want us to see and not the real deal.
We don't see what happens behind closed doors. So I love your message. Thank you so much for coming with me today. Where can our viewers reach you if they need to, if they want to reach out and be on your podcast?
Oh, absolutely. Of course, I'm on Facebook as Stephanie Cooper, Cooper. There's a lot of Stephanie Coopers out there, but I'm on there. And on IG, I am Broken in the number 2 beautiful. Broken in 2 beautiful on IG. My email is stephanie.d.cooper@gmail.com. However you can reach out to me, even if your people can't remember, they can reach out to Jess and she can send you my email.
And all the links are going to be at the bottom of this podcast. So if you feel that Stephanie touched you during this interview and you feel like she could help you, please reach out to her because you were never alone. Things can always change, but you have to practice mindfulness. Practice being in the moment and worrying about this moment right now. Don't worry about what's going to happen next year, what you're going to do next week. You got to be more beautiful things happen the more you sit in the moment. And then you start noticing all the beautiful things around you that you were too busy before to notice.
Yeah. And my podcast is Broken Into Beautiful, and it's on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. I enjoyed myself. Thank you for having me.
Well, there you have it, beautiful souls. Another powerful guest that has learned to survive their swim in the toxic waters and break up with their toxic dance partner, fear. If you need help trying to find a new dance partner, please reach out to myself or Stephanie today and let us show you how a single 4-letter word can change your mindset permanently. That 4-letter word is love. With love, all things are possible. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dancing in the Toxic Shadows. Until we meet again, this is Jess Intuitive Angel Healer sending healing angel vibes. Love and light, everybody. Take care.